Hello, my friend. You are listening to a brand new episode of TyePod, and I can't believe that I am about to say these words, but we have finally made it to the 100th episode of the show. Oh my goodness. And I'm not gonna lie, despite the literal years that we have put into the production of this show here, somehow, some way, the 100th episode kind of snuck up on me, and I'm recording this like the day before that it's going live. I'm gonna go ahead and blame that on kind of like that whole postpartum brain thing I got going on these days. But alas, here we are. I'm super pumped. Baby is down for nap time. We're winning around here. And so I wanted to do a little something special and actually walk you through the top 5 lessons that I've learned through this podcasting journey. Now, this is not going to be marketing advice. It's really not even business advice. It's general, just lessons learned, that real life stuff that can apply no matter what area is on your mind right now. I'm really excited to get into this. I didn't script this or anything like that. I just kind of jotted down my top 5 lessons, and I'm really about to speak from the heart on these ones, okay? So this is going to be kind of a less scripted, let's get into it type of chat between friends as we are, okay? So go ahead, if you've got your multiple beverages, do what you gotta do. Y'all know how it goes. Get settled because we are going to dig in right after this. Hello, my friend. It's Tiana Ty, Team Dynamics Consultant and trained industrial organizational psychologist, helping you to become a better leader than your last boss. And right now, you are tuning into the go-to podcast for entrepreneurs building and leading teams, hiring, onboarding, management, or maybe you just want some general advice about building your business. Well, let me assure you, you are in the right place. So go ahead, crack open a fresh notebook because you are listening to TyePod. This episode is brought to you by the Expecting CEO Affirmation Deck. I'm telling y'all, I was honestly a bit overwhelmed as soon as my husband and I decided that we were going to start trying to conceive. It was this idea of adding on another layer of responsibility, another role on top of showing up every day as a CEO, as a wife, as a daughter, as a friend, right? So instead of falling into that fear spiral, which I tried, I started to really lean into mindset work. And that began this beautiful journey of identifying negative beliefs and doing the work to shift them into affirmations. And that's exactly how the Expecting CEO Pregnancy Affirmation Card Deck was born. Pun intended. So whether it's you or a loved one that is running your business and growing a human at the same time, the Expecting CEO Pregnancy Affirmation Card Deck is a resource unlike any other. Each affirmation was curated specifically with business owners in mind. Head on over to theexpectingceo.com/affirmation deck to snag yours today. Alrighty, so are you ready to dig in? Let's just have a chat because y'all, we learned some lessons throughout the years of TyePod, and I'm ready to kind of spill it all for you. So lesson number 1, my friend, is that consistency is hard. Point blank, period. And I want to really speak to this one because from my personal experience, there are just these seasons, man. Y'all know how life goes. There are seasons that knock you out. There are seasons that steal the breath out of you, that make your gut just do a little dance in not so pleasant of a way. And regardless of whether we're just talking in our personal lives or in business, those seasons in life, they can really just shift our perspective on the things that are priority for us. Now, while this show is 100% a top business priority for me, it's my favorite way of serving you guys. It's my favorite way of showing up for my community in a way that's free and accessible to everyone. But y'all know what it is. I've gone through family members passing away, through mental health crises, through pregnancy, through birth, through postpartum. There have been so many different seasons that have called for different levels of focus and different amounts that I can really dedicate to a project as big as this, something as massive as hosting a podcast that comes live once a week every single week. And y'all, all I gotta say is consistency is hard. So what have I done to kind of mitigate that, I guess? Well, first things first, let me be 100% honest. If y'all scroll all the way back to, I think we started the show in 2019. If you scroll all the way back to the very beginning and you take a peek at those dates, you're going to notice there was a big old gap. In the dates, I know for a fact I disappeared. I've kind of like blocked this out of my mind because I felt so much shame around this back in the day. But I swear to you, I disappeared from the podcast for like at least 6 months. It was very much the case of starting this project that was incredibly important to me and then not batching, not like having a bunch of assets already made and letting life get ahead of me and then not being able to give that focus to this. So literally there was even a season in this very podcast where that consistency wasn't just hard, it was impossible. With everything else going on, it was literally impossible. And so that has taught me the importance of batch working. Yeah, man. We batch work around here. Now, I told you in the intro to this episode that I'm recording this just like a day or two before it goes live. Let me tell you, there's another episode 100. I'm just postponing it, okay? Because we batch work like crazy around here because I have realized just through this experience of running a show consistently again that there will be seasons in life, there will be more things that come up that's going to keep me away from being able to create quality content and quality education for you all. And so in order to mitigate that, we're recording 1, 2, a lot of times 3 months out these days. Ever since maternity leave, I'm like, do we have enough episodes for the next 3 months? If not, we've got to go. Like, it is such a focus for me now. All right, so let's dig into lesson number 2. This one, I think, came to the forefront of my mind in 2020, and that is the people in the room do matter. Now, this may be a controversial take, so if y'all disagree with me, like let's have a chat about it for real. But when it came to hosting this show, as you know, it's so important to me that almost every other week we're introducing someone new to you all. Like we're introducing a leader in business, whether they're sharing their own expertise or giving us the behind the scenes sneak peek into how their team is functioning and what their leadership journeys have looked like. We invite people to this table on this show. And so in 2020, I definitely learned the lesson that the people in the room do matter. Now, this is a platform. It may be a modest platform. We may not be number 1 in the business podcasting yet. However, it's still a platform. So I had to realize in 2020 that it is so absolutely critical to not only make sure that the people we invited into the room for this show have something to say, are leaders in their business, have been around the block and really are ready to share great value with you all. But I also needed to make sure that I was doing my due diligence as a leader myself and as the, kind of gatekeeper to this show and to you all, right? And so the big lesson learned in the people in the room do matter for me has been to make sure that the barrier to entry into this show and to this platform is not too low. Now, y'all know whenever I'm talking about like hiring and building your team and all of that great stuff, I often talk about when it comes to bringing people into our companies, it's absolutely imperative that we make sure that the barrier to entry is not too low. So while we do not exclude people for no reason, we don't just let anybody come and chat with us, right? And so that has been such an imperative lesson for me because although, and I will say this, I'll wave the flag in the air here and now, I do not believe in everything that my guests do. I may not agree with everything that the guests on this show share. I may not agree with their personal opinions on any topic, right? First of all, y'all, I don't even agree with my own husband on everything. Y'all know what I'm saying? However, doing that due diligence and making sure that we're not inviting people to the table that are harming our community or that are, actively doing things that are very disparaging to people that we care about in our community is so absolutely important to me. And that's something that really came to light for a number of reasons, but one, again, I mentioned 2020, just all of the work and all of the experts that we had on the show talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, it made me even more excited to be so specific and to be so intentional about making sure that we are giving people a platform, but we're doing so in a responsible way. All right, so let's get into number 3, the third lesson that I have learned 100 episodes in, and that is the things that seem small to me actually make a huge difference for someone else. Now, I don't know who can relate, but I remember when I entered into entrepreneurship, and one of my coaches, I want to say this one was Jenna Kutcher. I think she was the one who mentioned this. When we were chatting one day, she mentioned to the group that she was chatting with that things that feel so normal to us, the things that we just take for granted our expertise in, absolutely positively, one, would like shock someone else. It would blow their mind. They'd be like, whoa, how does your brain even think like this? But two, it genuinely can change their life for the better. And that has been a really big thing for me. Like those of you who know, I'm an Enneagram 5. And so one of the things I kind of get wrapped around the axle about is like showing up as an expert and like making sure that I only speak on topics that I feel like I'm an expert in and like all of that stuff, right? So it started, like the show started for me feeling almost ashamed, almost unworthy, not ashamed. Unworthy is really the right word. Like, who am I, one, to step out and start sharing this expertise? Like, maybe I need to be in the game for 15, 20 years before I open my mouth. Like, you know, you got to pay your dues. That's kind of the old school mentality. But I slowly but surely, thank goodness, realized that even just being a chapter ahead makes it worthy to open my mouth and help someone who's the chapter behind me. You know what I'm saying? And so I've seen the literal fruits of that labor, and I would love to share a few of them with you today. So I actually picked out some of my favorite testimonials that have been shared for TyePod, and y'all, I guarantee you hearing some of these is going to bring a smile to your face and make your heart happy. I'm going to read like 3 of my faves. Alrighty, so the first review is from Successful Sid, and they said, great learning experience for me and the team. I've enjoyed listening to the Tiana's podcast, or better yet, TyePod. Hired a full-time employee who has been virtual for 6 months now. It was more of a hiring perk for her to spend more time with her newborn. We've had back-to-back record quarters. That was before learning how to fully optimize our virtual work. Looking forward to the podcasts and Instagram post on how to be a better manager of my sole virtual employee, and look forward to adding even more hires potentially out of state. First of all, as a new mom, that comment around just enabling your team member to spend more time with her newborn, it's hitting different. This one was from 2020. So now that we're in 2022 and I'm there personally, ooh, that one hits different. Okay, the second one that brought a smile to my face was the one from Fran Simone, said, hashtag all the team things. I love that you are talking about teams and how to grow. We don't always think about teams and how to create culture in the online space. We need you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for those words of kindness, Fran. Makes my heart so happy. So let's read the third one. This one's super recent, and I actually read it for the first time coming back from maternity leave. Brought the biggest smile to my face. And it is from ATB275, who said, this show has greatly influenced me as a leader. I started listening to this show when I was just dipping my toe into building a team, and now I have a full-time employee and 3 other team members. I love Tiana's mix of big picture ideas and super specific, tangible advice that I can implement. If you are leading or managing anyone, I'd consider this a must listen. Oh! Like, first of all, the fact that they started listening to this show before there was a team in sight, and now there are 4 people on this team, that makes me absolutely ecstatic. I love it so much. This is why we do what we do. And circling back to lesson number 1, this is why, even though it's hard to be consistent, consistency really is key. It's just super difficult. Weren't those kind words just the best, y'all? Like, oh, my heart. Literally every time I sit down to record an episode, I try to remind myself we are doing this for a reason. We are doing this so that there are people like ATB275 who are being impacted on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, I should really say, by consuming this show, this content, and not just from me, but from the incredible people that we do invite into the room. Shout out to lesson number 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the 4th lesson I've learned, and that is there is always room to change. Hopefully for the better. Y'all know what I'm saying. But on this show, we have had actually so many changes. Those who have listened from the first episode all the way to now, episode 100, may have picked up on the fact that we've had new intro music, a new intro. We got like some assets customized for us. The topics that I've even shared have actually kind of evolved over the last few years. I remember when I first started the show before I disappeared and took that big old hiatus, we were doing a lot more. I say generic because I don't have a nicer word. Look, them episodes are still fire, which is why they're still up first and foremost. However, as time has progressed, I've listened to my audience. I've become more laser focused on the best way for me to show up and serve you all. And so we've become super, super focused on that team and leadership content in my solo episodes. And then we've been super, super focused in making sure we're bringing in just like these top tier guests who have some sort of expertise and wisdom to really share with you all. We've had new collaborations and sponsorships over the years. The show, actually, like the length of these shows, I used to try to make solo episodes as long as possible, and man, if we don't keep it 15 to 20 minutes these days, I don't know what else is popping. And even just new ways of promoting and showing up. Like when we started TyePod, TikTok was an app that people just dance on. You know what I'm saying? And now in 2022, we're actually making a more conscious effort to making sure that this content is over there because there are people over there that need to hear it. So there is always room to change. And there's always room to continue to evolve and come up with new ways of doing things. And I, for one, will tell y'all right here and right now that we're going to keep changing. Whatever is happening right here on this show, this 100th episode, all these episodes preceding is amazing, not going to change a thing. However, we shall see the best way to continue serving you all, episodes 101 through 200. You know what I'm saying? So change is just, it's hard. It is hard, y'all. Like every time I make even just the smallest tweak, I'm like, are they going to notice? Are they going to like revolt and boycott? Which is so silly because I've never gotten a single message about that. However, it is absolutely imperative, and hopefully all of the changes we've made over the last few years on this show are for the better, and you agree with that. So rounding us out with number 5, the 5th lesson I've learned in this podcast and journey of mine is that there is no ending in sight, right? There's only continued evolution, like I just mentioned. And I feel like this lesson has really made me more so appreciate the journey for the sake of the journey. And as a matter of fact, entrepreneurship has taught me that. It smacked me across the face with that lesson, that there is no end in sight. Now, there may be goals along the way, right? So for this podcast, for example, we've had download goals. We've had goals for the amount of testimonials and reviews we have. Like we have these tangible benchmarking goals. However, the journey is the journey, baby. And this one is not ending anytime soon. And that makes me think so much just about entrepreneurship in general, right? Business. There is no end in sight, unless perhaps your ending is like you want to sell the company to someone else and like the end. Okay, I'll give you that one. However, if that's not your goal, you may relate to the fact that business in general really is a never-ending journey. Your evolution as a leader really is a never-ending journey. The elevation of your team and working on your team on a consistent basis to develop an empowering company culture is a never-ending journey. We have these benchmarking goals, like we have these, North Stars that we want to achieve, and that's a beautiful thing. However, baby, I hope that you can look around and enjoy the view from time to time, because truly what this show has taught me coming up on the 100th episode is that there is so much more ahead of us. There is much more ahead of us than behind us. And that makes me so excited. So look, I told y'all, again, we batch work around here. Remember lesson number 1, that consistency is tricky. So we batch work around here, and I'll tell y'all right now, there are plenty more episodes to come. And I am so excited, so honored, and grateful to have you here along the ride with us. Whew. So I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you. And I will catch you on the 101st episode of TyePod next week, my friend.